Hello. Welcome on back to my channel. I hope y'all are doing well. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be sharing tons of tips and tricks and techniques on working with skin that has a bit of texture. So without further ado, if you want to learn how I created this look right here, then keep on watching. So to begin, I'm using the Elemis Pro-Collagen Cleansing Balm to prep our model's skin with. I love how this completely breaks down any oil or like makeup left over on the skin, and it gets the skin squeaky clean without stripping it of its natural oils, because you see it starts out as a balm, and then as it starts warming up to the skin, it thins out and transitions into a cleansing oil. But it's when I add water to it, it then transforms into a gentle cleanser. And I say gentle because it doesn't foam up like a typical cleanser would. It has more of a milk-like consistency, so this is a really fantastic step to incorporate into your routine if you have dry skin and it's needing a little pick-me-up. Just be sure to thoroughly wipe this off before moving on to the next steps. For moisturizer, I'm using the Elemis Pro-Collagen Marine Cream to further hydrate our model's skin with. This moisturizer is actually from the same brand that makes the cleansing balm we had just used. I'm a fan of their whole Pro-Collagen line, but this is great because it includes SPF 30, so it's going to keep the skin hydrated and protected, which is really crucial. And it's important to say that this formula doesn't pill up or leave a white cast on the skin, which is often the case with SPF products. So next time you're at Sephora, I highly recommend checking out their products. They're really fantastic. So moving right along, I'm taking the Smashbox OG Photo Finish Primer and using this to soft treat different areas of the face. So right there around the nose, this will bring down a little bit of that shine and give a smoother finish to the pores. But also along her cheeks, she has some post-acne scarring, so this too will give a slightly smoother finish to this area and will really help support the performance of the foundation we end up using in a moment. For foundation, I'm using the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation, and I'm first applying this on with a brush before I later use a makeup sponge to further blend the product in. Now the brush I'm using here is from It Cosmetics. It's really nice because it's double-ended, one end being for foundation or powders, and the other end for the work that requires a little more precision, such as concealer. But really, you can use it for whatever you feel comfortable with. What's important here is the formula I'm using for the foundation. It's on the fuller coverage side, but it's a very thin formula that dries down to a soft matte finish. And honestly, it's one of the longest wearing foundations in the game. I wouldn't say it's transfer proof per se, but it's definitely transfer resistant and does an incredible job at staying put throughout the day. Once I have this all blended in with a sponge, I'm using the Natasha Denona Hy-Glam Concealer to brighten and conceal her under eyes. She is a glam girl, so she likes a good bright under eye, which is totally my style. So I apply it on with the other side of our brush and then head over to the sponge to really press it into the skin and blend it up and outwards for a lifted effect. And as you can see, it really adds that spotlight effect to the center of the face. So I'm going to conceal around the other eye real quick and then head over to the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Powder in the shade Peach Pie to set the concealer into place. Now I'm just focusing this powder on the under eye area right now where we want to keep that brightening effect, but you'll see me in a moment use another powder around the rest of the face. In the meantime, little by little, pressing this powder in to prevent this concealer from creasing or moving around. Alrighty, what I'm going to do is take this Makeup Forever HD Powder Foundation, and with a dense face brush, I'm pressing this into the skin to set that foundation into place. So heading back to the whole theme of today's tutorial, if you're someone who has a lot of texture, whether that be from acne scars or whatever it may be, powders will be your best friend because you see, what it does is it softens the highlights and the shadows, right? Creating that blurred effect. That's why it's so tricky to use highlighters and glowy, dewy type products on texture, because what it does is it just accentuates the texture that's there. So my best advice is to aim for mattifying products and techniques, but be sure to not skip on the skin prep, because that's what's going to prevent the skin from looking dull and dry. It's all about balance. So next up here, I'm taking this One Size Bronze and Sculpt trio to warm up the skin again. Of course, this is something that could be done with a cream bronzer, but it kind of just goes back to what I was saying a moment ago about using products that provide a matte finish. Creams create a dewy finish, powders create a matte finish, unless it has shimmer in the formula or something, but that's not the case here. Just a little here and there to sculpt the face, and then head back to our setting powder to bake along the under eyes and to sculpt the nose. And what I mean by that is you'll notice I bring the powder right up to the bridge of the nose, and by the time we wipe it off later, it leaves behind a subtle highlight that complements her natural nose shape. For brows today, I'm using this Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Powder Duo to lightly fill in and shape her brows with. Now, she already has a pretty full brow, but I don't want to tweeze or pluck anything. So I'm little by little building up the shape to soften the point of the arch and to extend the tail of the brow, which I think will complement the eye makeup we work on next. To start on the eye makeup, I'm taking these two pigment paints from Haus Labs and mixing them together before lightly applying them onto the upper lid and diffusing them out. I can't quite remember the shade names offhand, but I'll be sure to include them down below, along with everything else I'm using today, of course. But this makes truly for the perfect start to the eye makeup. It's a cool toned plum with a hint of magenta, and I apply it nearly up to the crease before using the shade here from the Huda Beauty Pretty Grunge palette, and I'm using the tiniest amount to further blend out the edges and to give us a soft transition. To further define the outer corner, I'm taking this shade here with a detail blending brush and lightly applying this on to accentuate the eye shape up and outwards. Remember, you can always add more if need be, so a little does it here, and let the brush do the work for you. To glam this up a bit, I'm taking the Shimmer pigment and applying it right onto the center of the lid with my finger, and look at what this does. It just elevates this eye look to another level, and I find it adds just enough sparkle without looking overly done. Now, one last thing I want to do is dip into this black eyeshadow shade here in the palette, and with an angled eyeliner brush, trace the upper lash line and wing it out. What you'll also notice I do is after I lay down this shadow, I'll head over to a blending brush to lightly diffuse out this liner, which will give us that effortless, worn-in effect. Now, real quick, I want to show you a neat little trick here. You see that area right below the outer portion of the wing? Well, what I'm going to do is pick up the shade here with a precise liner brush and use it to clean up the wing. By using a shadow that's quite a few shades lighter than her natural skin tone, we're able to achieve that crisp line that really polishes up the look. And then it allows me to take a step back, see what's going on here, where I want to add more black shadow, where I want to alter the shape of the liner, and where I possibly may want to add more of that brightening shadow. So it's a lot of back and forth, but with a little patience, we get a really beautiful result. So I'm bringing in that liner to the inner corner here to finish off before heading over to this YSL Lash Clash Extreme Mascara and running it through her top lashes. I'm going to run it through her bottom lashes too, but just a tiny bit, because really for this look, I want to keep the lower lash line pretty clean and simple. To add to this, I'm using this Ardell Active Lash Style. I don't know why this is such a tongue twister. It's in the style Gainz. There we go. And I'm popping them right onto the outer half of her eye to add a little length and volume. You can use the full lash if you like, but I ended up cutting just one lash in half, and then I'll be able to use the other one on someone else. So yeah, it's kind of like a 2-for-1. Alrighty, I'm wiping away this baking powder so we can move on to one of my favorite steps, blush. I'm using this Patrick Ta Beauty powder blush in the shade She's the Moment and dusting this onto the apples of her cheeks for a flush of color. I think it's really perfect for her skin tone. To begin on the lips, I'm using this Buxom lip liner in the shade High Def Honey and using this to line the borders of her lips with. I will say, even though this makes for a good starting color, I do end up going a shade deeper, which you'll see in a moment. But for gloss, I'm using this Patrick Ta Beauty lip plumping gloss in the shade Say Less, and I'm popping this right onto the center of the lip before diffusing it outwards. I love this pale baby doll pink shade, but it was definitely at this point that I knew I wanted more contrast from the lip liner. So I reached for this Makeup Forever lip pencil. The shade is called Limitless Brown. I retraced the lips and I kind of finessed the shape a bit more, and it definitely gave more of the drama I was looking for, especially once I blended it in with a gloss. It really took the lip from looking too neutral to having a little more definition, but also without looking too dark and moody. And then to finish off the look, I'm using the One Size Until Dawn setting spray to set and lock this look into place, which makes this the final step in how I created this glamorous look on our naturally beautiful model. There we have it, kids. I hope y'all enjoyed today's tutorial. If you did, be sure to give this video a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out more of my work on my Instagram at Painted by Spencer. And until next time, I'll see you soon.